So adding and subtracting polynomials. Adding and subtracting, the main thing that you're doing is you're combining, like if it told you to add the square footage of this house with the square footage of this house, or if you're combining two quadratics, that's the main reason you see this, but you can see it asked in many different ways. So I'm going to show you two ways to do these. So this one is adding. Notice it's adding because there's an addition sign between both parts. And we're also going to do subtracting. So adding and subtracting polynomials, this one's addition because it's adding. So the main thing to look at here is that there is nothing to distribute. If there was a negative here, I would have to distribute the negative. If there was a number in front, I would have to distribute that. So really, there's nothing I need to do in this first step, so I would just rewrite it without the parentheses. Of course, if you don't need to write the parentheses, don't write the parentheses. But this is our equation. So 3x squared plus 3x minus 4. The way I like to do these, the easiest way for me to do it is always to circle the x squared, underline the x's or whatever. So I'm going to look, we have 7x squared and we have a 3x squared. We need to combine x squareds with x squareds and x's with x's and numbers with numbers. Remember, you have to combine like terms, so that's why I can only combine an x squared with an x squared. So 7x squared plus 3x squared, 7 plus 3 is 10. So 10x squared. Okay, the next one, if I look at this part, I should have really boxed that. I really did want to box it just because some people don't have colored pens. So I'm going to just change that to boxes. Make sure you box the sign with it. So it would be negative 14 plus 3. So negative 14 plus 3. If you're unsure, type it in your calculator. So, sorry, I'm trying to get my calculator. So negative 14 plus 3 is negative 11. So negative 11x. And then let's do, I'm trying to find a color, 25 minus 4. So 25 minus 4 would be a positive 21. When you write these, always write it in standard form, so x squared, then x, then 21. That's why we had to do yesterday's notes before we could do these notes. Okay, so that is the first one. So that's the first way you can do it. Depending on how your brain works or which way you prefer. So if you have 7x squared, I'm going to use the same problem just so you can see it laid out, minus 14x plus 25. And then I'm going to add it. So just like whenever you have 7 plus 3, you add and you get 10. I'm going to do it on top of each other. So I'm going to place this, the 3x squared, directly under the 7, just because they're both x squareds. Then plus 3x, and then minus 4. So I placed it in order of highest degree to lowest degree. So then it's the same thing that I just did a minute ago up here. It would be 7 plus 3 is 10x squared. Don't forget to put the x squared. Then negative 14 plus 3 would be negative 11x. And then 25 minus 4 would be 21. So that is the same answer, just depending on which way you think makes more sense. Okay, let's do another example. So if I have 3x squared minus x plus 2 plus 16 minus x squared. So 3x squared minus x plus 2 and plus 16 minus x squared. I'm going to do it this way first, like in the line first, and then I'll do it on top of each other. So since there's nothing to distribute and since it's an addition sign, I can just write it out. So 3x squared minus x plus 2 plus 16 minus x squared. Again, I'm going to look for all of the x squareds first because that's the highest degree, and that's what I need written first. So it'd be 3x minus x, or minus 1x, 3x squared minus 1x squared. So 3 minus 1 is 2x squared. Then we have x's. So I'm going to look for x's. So it'd be negative x, underline, underline. Because there was nothing to combine with that, it would just be negative x. Sorry, and then I forgot to switch colors. So then it'd be 2 plus 16. So 2 plus 16 would be 18. Okay, now I'm going to do it stacked or vertical addition. Minus x plus 2. Now this next one, this is where it gets a little bit trickier. I still have to write it with numbers under numbers and x squareds under x squareds, so that negative x squared would move out front and the 16 would move to the back. Okay, combine 3x squared minus x squared. So 3 minus 1, 3x squared minus 1 would be 2x squared. Bring down the negative x because there's nothing to combine it with. And then 2 plus 16 is 18. So that would be my answer. It's still the same thing. Okay. I am going to add a video on that is an example from Agile Mind. So I'm going to stop it and then open Agile Mind. Look at this example on Agile Mind. It doesn't matter if you don't have it open. Notice it's a house. It's talking about a floor plan. So this is the main reason you will see, or the main application problems you will see when talking about polynomials. So it's saying that the square footage of the house is based on 35x squared plus 20x minus 56. And why they do that is, say you have a really big lot, then you would put a larger number in for x. If you have a smaller lot, they would put in a smaller number, and that's how they decide what the square footage of the house is going to be, based on how big the lot is or how much money the people have. So then if you look, it says, but this expression includes the garage space. What square footage would the real estate agent list on the house appraisal sheet? So if you know anything about appraisals, the garage typically is not included. It would be more of just the square footage of the house without the garage. So this is where we're going to see that subtraction. So we're going to take the square footage of the entire house and subtract the square footage of the garage. So I'm going to go ahead and just write that down. So we have 35x squared plus 20x minus 56. That's the square footage of the house. And we need to subtract the square footage for the garage. Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit different than the addition. So if you're doing subtraction and it says subtract everything in this parentheses, well, if I subtract a negative x, what's the opposite of a negative x? Would be a positive. So what you typically see happen is you'll typically see everyone just change all of the signs, because if I subtract a 2x squared, it's just subtracting a 2x squared. If I subtract a negative x, so if I subtract a negative x. Remember, subtracting a negative turns into addition. I'm going to actually make this a little bigger just so you can see it better. So if you subtract a negative, it's actually addition. It's also like there's a negative 1 times the 2x squared. So negative 1 times 2x squared, negative 1 times negative x. Well, a negative times a negative is a positive. It's whichever way makes more sense to you thinking about, but you're going to just distribute that negative in. So a negative times a positive 2x squared would be a negative 2x squared. A negative times a negative x. A negative times a negative is a positive x. And a negative times a positive 21 is a negative 21. Okay, this stuff didn't change, so it's exactly the same. So it'd be 35x squared plus 20x minus 56. Now, if you notice this back part back here, every sign just changed. So anytime you're subtracting, it just changes. Minus a negative times a positive, that changed to negative. This changed to addition. This changed to subtraction. Okay, and then again, combine. So 35x squared minus 2x squared. 35 minus 2 would be 33x squared. Let's box the x's. So we have 20x plus x, which is just 1x. So 20 plus 1 will be 21x. And then negative 56 minus 21, I'm going to go ahead and type that one in just so that everybody can see it. Negative 56 minus 21 is negative 77. So that would be my final answer. That would be the square footage of the house without the garage. Okay, I'm going to stack them on top of each other and show you how that's a little bit different. So 35x squared plus 20x minus 56, and then minus everything down here. So 2x squared minus x plus 21. So if I do 35x squared minus 2, so 35 minus 2 would be 33x squared. 20x minus a negative, remember minus a negative changes it to addition, so it'd be 20x plus x, or 1x would be 21x. Negative 56 minus 21, that's what we did in our calculator. Negative 56 minus 21 is negative 77. So it would be negative 77. Again, I don't care which way you do it, as long as you remember to either distribute the negative or subtract every term in that bottom part. Okay, so that is adding and subtracting polynomials.